Welcome to Scoop World Order. Happy signing day eve. We have signing day tomorrow morning. The fax machine will be on fire. We're excited to see who comes in. I got updates on JJ Smith, Eddrick Houston. Tackett Curtis is in the building, a guy that we're going to be looking at. So we got some really good stuff going on. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us as always. Thank you again for the fantastic super chats. We're on a great run leading up to Christmas. All of the money is going into our Pay It Forward Foundation. So if you have a question you're dying to know, send us a super chat. We will literally stop the show and answer your question. It's been a great system. So we appreciate you guys supporting our troops. Also, Merry Christmas. I know some of you guys might be taking off on vacation. We're going to be going every day up till Christmas, but just want to get that out there. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Those are huge for this channel. We're in the middle of a massive growth surge, so we appreciate you guys humping us out, spreading the good word of Buckeye Scoop. Again, we try to bring killer content to you guys and kick it with you guys every night. We have the best regulars on any podcast there is, so we appreciate you guys bringing the heat every single night and joining us, bringing those comments. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I saw Portsmouth. I saw Chillicothe. I saw my Southern Ohio boys are representing. I saw Florida, Texas, California. Appreciate all you guys. Colorado. So thank you guys for being a part of what we do each and every night. So we thank you so much. That being said, going to bring in my good friend at Nevada Buck. Nevada, there's a lot of either drama or faux drama around JJ Smith, Eddrick Houston. I don't know if I believe any of it. I'm sure that Eddrick's doing his last little bit of diligence, but it's not like Larry Johnson magically became 72 years old or whatever, like overnight. I mean, they know that he's that old, but he is I think he's a great recruiter. He's a guy that's a great technician. He went and checked out Clemson, checked out Bama. Again, I don't know why anybody would go to Clemson at this point, because that seems like it's a boat that's about to hit the bottom of the ocean. Bama is Bama. Obviously, they're always going to be tough. But your thoughts on Eddrick Houston and JJ Smith? JJ has been offered the sun, the moon, and the stars by Florida State and Florida and Miami. But, he wants to go to the league and make real money, not the little scratch that you get from FSU. But your thoughts on where everything stands tonight, the night before signing day?
Well, yeah, I mean, happy National Signing Day Eve, and it's as our tradition, we will have the airing of grievances here this evening. And my first grievance that I'm going to throw out there is these national recruiting analysts. Now, think about how tough it is. Okay, we do this full time for Ohio State. We full time cover Ohio State and try to do this, and you know how difficult it is to get a handle on these guys. Like it's really, 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 really tough, darn near impossible. So now let's try to go. Now I'm a national recruiting analyst. I've got to cover guys across the nation. I'm not a specialist. It's like when you go to Cheesecake Factory and you're like, hey, do I want Italian food, or do I want Chinese food, or do I want Lebanese food, or do I want Hungarian food, or do I want tacos, or you get that menu and you keep going through the whole menu and you're like, damn, this is a really big menu. They can't really be good at anything because this menu is just so big. That's how it is being a national recruiting analyst. They have no idea. So what's their job? Their job is to kind of gin up some and throw out these kind of open-ended that don't really mean anything, but they could mean something, that they could go back and say that they meant something, but it really didn't mean anything in the first place. Like Alabama could have a big day. There could be some stuff percolating here with a 5-star. And you're like, what are you guys talking about? So let me summarize where I think that we are on National Signing Day Eve for Ohio State. I think we're exactly where we thought we would be with Ohio State for the last months or 2 months. I mean, I think everything's going to go pretty much the way that we thought it was going to. Could Ohio State flip a kid at the end? There's a 5-star flip that we will be revealing tomorrow. If it doesn't happen, we'll be revealing which kid was the potential 5-star flip that we're aware of. That's the only one that I'm aware of that was working on. That's a 5-star flip. They've got this 4-star thing that people are talking about, Aramis Williams. That doesn't feel right to me. That doesn't feel like it's really viable. Could it happen? Sure. Am I aware that it's going to happen? No. So I think the class is going to finish the way we thought the class was going to finish, with the guys that we thought were in it. And all this stuff about last-minute changes and J.J. Smith reconsidering, and he wore Florida State gloves. And I think it's all just a bunch of hooey, and I think this class is going to turn out to be one of the highest ranked by star ranking average for Ohio State in its recruiting history. So despite all the gloom and doom and the hand wringing and stuff, I think it's going to turn out to be a terrific class. And the best news of all, you want the best news of all? The best news of all is that Ryan Day is not doing it via Zoom call now. He caved. He caved to the pressure of the OSU Star Wars convention beat. And they're
my
like,
God.
Joe, you can have your deli tray and you can have your snickerdoodles, but don't take away our chance to get out of the house and get away from our wives and kids and hang out with each other and to talk about the latest, Mandalorian episode with you guys. So there's going to be a press conference tomorrow. So you guys can all rest easy tonight knowing that the beat is going to get out of their house and waddle their way down there and meet with Ryan Day, and it's going to be glorious.
Can't, dude. I'm gonna die on the air because you said the Mandalorian episode. Oh my God. AZ King, you're the best. I gotta read this without dying. Thank you for the 5, brother. Walanda here. Appreciate you, my man. Hit the buy run to get more people involved. It's free. I believe that means the like button. So I appreciate you guys as always supporting us. AZ, you're the man. You're always in here. Appreciate you, brother. Jason Willard, appreciate you, my man. You're in here as well, one of our regulars. So thank you, brother. Just love you guys, and you bring it every day. We honestly, God, we can't wait to get to 7:00 every night because we love doing the show because we literally just die laughing the whole time because it's so funny, some of the stuff we talk about. So thank you, and also Merry Christmas to you, Jason. Thank you, Merry Christmas. Keep killing it, Nevada and Kirk. Appreciate you, brother. Again, I hope you guys all have a great Christmas and Happy Hanukkah for those of you guys that celebrate that. But again, I'm just excited. Like, I think that, here's the thing. Like, as of this morning, with Dylan Raiola decommitting from Georgia, Ohio State has the #1 recruiting class in the entire country as of right now. Now, if, the avalanche happens tomorrow and we lose a couple kids, like, as long as we get JJ, I don't care. I mean, we lose anyone, but I don't think we're going to lose JJ or Eddrick. So, again, like, everybody, the sky is falling. We're going to land the #1 class in the country. So, and again, the other beautiful thing about it is, guess what? A lot of these guys that we missed on, they're going to hit the portal next year. Like, look, Tackett Curtis. Who's the first school he called when he went to the portal for SC? Us, Ohio State. Hey, I made a bad decision. I went and worked with Alex Grinch in Los Angeles, and he got whacked after like 9 games. Can I please come back to Ohio State? Yeah, come on down, Tackett. So, again, as much as there's Corey Foreman from SC, who was like the #1 player in the country 2 years ago, just hit the portal. Yes, and some of these guys, the thing I keep telling people is, if these guys are making decisions based on an NIL bag, and you look at the schools that they end up going to, like Miami, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, who's going to lose Lane Kiffin to Alabama the second Nick Saban finally decides to retire, if he ever retires. Now, he might be immortal, and Coach Joe's 150 years old, and Bama might turn him into like the first AI Terminator bot. He might just be out there with like a little brain on a robot body running around. But Kiffin's got to go to Bama. And then, why would you ever send your kid to the U? Like Justin Scott, these kids, they go to, and then, these guys, they get these funny money contracts, and then they don't get paid. And then they're in the portal a year later. Like, look at Walter Nolan. Like, Walter Nolan, is the prize pig from 2 years ago from A&M. He's in the portal. These kids, they see these gaudy numbers, and then these contracts, they don't get backed up. It's like if you get beat out, you're not the starter. It's all glitter and gold on the front end. But when they actually get you on campus, then all of a sudden, oh, you're not a starter. Oh, you don't get this chunk of money. Oh, you don't get this escalator. Like there is so much slime in this game that I beg these kids. I'm like, look, go to the place that you like the most to go to school and the program, and you like the culture, because everything else can get deleted. Your position coach can leave to go be a coordinator. The head coach can leave to go to the NFL or go somewhere else. So look, you better pick somewhere you like, because everything else can change in a millisecond. Like Jimbo Fisher, 2 years ago when he signed the highest rated class of all time, he's not going anywhere. He's got a $93 million buyout. And guess what? He got whacked. So, these coaches, I mean, these players sign up for stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how in your right mind you could ever send a kid that's serious about football to the University of Miami. In Miami, 20 years ago, one thing. Now it's just like it's a death knell. So like guys like Justin Scott, like these guys are gonna be right back in the portal in a year because they're taking this funny money. So JJ Smith, and I've talked to JJ, I've talked to his dad. You know, everyone's like, oh, he needs NIL money. And there's some really stupid people on the Ohio State beat that said something about that. I'm like, his cousin is Geno Smith. So, if he needs some sort of a loan, like Geno's doing pretty good for the Seahawks now. He's not a huge deal. So again, like he's not like some whatever you guys want to make it out to be. And if he comes up here, he's gonna get a bag because JJ is that dude, and he's probably the best receiver we've ever recruited. So, and he's one of the nicest kids, and his entire life is football. That's it. He's all ball all the time. He's serious as a heart attack. He's like, he would be like my dream teammate to play with because all he wants to do is play football. And he wants to catch the football and he wants to run routes and he's a student of the game. And he's one of the greatest kids I've ever met. I interviewed him, talked to his dad for a long time. It was fantastic. So, again, everyone that's worried about JJ and, Miami and Florida, like Florida State's been offering him money for 2 years now. So is Miami. So is Florida. So what, you think like another $100,000 is going to change the math on JJ? No, he wants to play for Brian Hartline. He wants to be with Ennis and Tate. He wants to be in this offense. And the only thing we could do to screw it up is not start him from day one. Because I would make him our X wide receiver. Sorry, Kojo, Antwi, and whoever else is in the room. Like, put Ennis in the slot. Put Carnell at the Z. They already moved Carnell to Z behind Julian because they thought Julian would take off, and that already happened. And make Carnell, the whole offense has got to run through JJ. He's got to be your X receiver, the Marmaduke, the number one dude. And just sit back and just, light a cigar and eat, the entire Cheesecake Factory menu, like put it on the Amex and just order it all. And extra macaroni and cheese bites. Your thoughts on Nevada?
Yeah, it's one of those things that right now with recruiting, it's just you went through the list of guys that were just like great players that if we'd have landed any one of them, we'd have just been doing cartwheels. And you see either they don't pan out or they end up in the portal or they end up going. And again, I'm not trying to kill our part of our business is recruiting. Like the part of our business is talking recruiting. People like to hear about recruiting. Recruiting is absolutely the lifeblood of any college football team, but it's just changed, man. It's just changed in terms of where you're getting guys, when you're getting guys, why you're getting guys. And I think with NIL craziness right now, given, look, you're clearly in an upheaval stage of NIL right now. It's when you have any business and there's a business disruption, whether it be via technology or immigration or currency devaluation or whatever, whenever there's craziness going on, the smart businesses just kind of batten down the hatches and just kind of wait for it all to shake out without trying to make some huge moves or huge plays or trying to get whipsawed in the thing. And I feel like that's where Ohio State is right now with NIL. I feel like it's just the Wild West. It's crazy. And so what should Ohio State do? Look, raise your money, keep your kids, use a rifle shot approach, not a shotgun approach to getting kids, being very, very selective about it. And if a kid is an NIL kid, if a kid's just about the bag, pass. It will just screw up your room. It will just screw up everything. And it's never the guys you miss on that kill you. It's the guys you get that can't play that kill you. So you don't worry about, I don't remember. I can still now do that exercise at home. For anybody listening right now, think about it, kind of go, who have we missed on that you're like, wow, I wish we had him. And so he'd be playing. Like, for what position? What position on guy have we missed that we're like, oh, well, we wish that we had that guy. We had a realistic shot. We didn't get him. And now look at him balling out somewhere. You'll have a very hard time doing it. So I think for Ohio State, I actually think they're being smart in terms of the way they're doing it. Their deficiency in NIL right now is strictly on the fundraising side. They have got the wrong guys. They've got junior guys out there trying to do big boy work, and that's the mistake that they're making right now with NIL. But I think they're realizing that, and I think they're trying to rectify that. So I really am optimistic about the future, about how Ohio State's going to respond to NIL. But I think that their use of NIL, their use of the portal, their use of these one-time transfers, I think they're being very judicious, and I really think that's smart because just bringing guys in to bring guys in doesn't do anybody any good. You can Victor Cutler yourself to death, and I don't think you want to do that. I think you want to be more clever about it, more elegant about it, and I think Ohio State's doing just that, and I really think it's smart.
Chat, Benji, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the 5. Could any staffers who have been mentioned here move on, like Mick or Alford? Merry Christmas, gents and Scoop fam. Appreciate you guys again. Merry Christmas. We say Merry Christmas on the Scoop. We love saying Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you all and Happy Hanukkah. I will say I don't think Mick's moving on. Again, Mick's making like $1 million a year right now to be a strength coach. Like, it'd be ridiculous to move on. Tony Alford, I think, has got a pretty fair amount of job security. Again, he loses Jordan Lyle. I don't care. We have James Peoples coming in. If there's a lot of fervor in the Woody that Trey Henderson's coming back. So if Trey comes back, there's no way Tony Alford's moving on. They're not going to whack him, when Trey's coming back to be under his tutelage for another year. So I don't think so. I think that the guys that are on shaky ground are probably Corey Dennis and Parker Fleming. But again, Ryan likes to make his moves after the bowl game. So we'll see if it happens. I think that if there's going to be a move to be made, it'll be then. Again, I think that you get James Laurinaitis on the road recruiting, then magically you have a dynamic superstar. I think James honestly will be a better recruiter than Brian Hartline, just because I think that he's that dynamic of a guy. He's a captain, he's an All-American, he's a better player than Brian. So I think that he'll be a better recruiter than Brian. Now, Brian obviously has been on fire. He took over a stacked room that Zach Smith left him, and he's just built on it. It was kind of like one of those things where the thing was already kind of in motion. He walked into a room that had three senior captains at wide receiver. Like that, for as long as we live, we might never see Ohio State have 3 wide receiver captains the same year. When they had Johnny Dixon, Paris, and Terry McLaurin. Obviously, Terry's been fantastic in the NFL. Paris, is with the Giants. Johnny's out of the league, but just superb kids. And then in that room, you've got young Chris Olave as a freshman. You've got Garrett Wilson committed. So that thing was like locked and loaded when Hartline took over, and then he's just added to it with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Some of these dynamic guys that he's bringing along. Emeka, Marvin, obviously like fantastic guys. Big kudos to Anthony Gonzalez because he's the guy that hooked up Marvin and Hartline. So Marvin Senior. So again, like it all kind of works in a cyclical fashion. But I think James could do that on defense, and I think James eventually could be a coordinator, maybe even a head coach at Ohio State, because I think that's his ceiling and his potential level. Another super chat, Karis Washington. Appreciate your brother. Thanks for the 5. Excited to see the new class. I am too. I love signing day. I think signing day is a blast. I remember my signing day, one of the dumbest days of my life. I got the only detention I ever had in my entire life was National Signing Day. Thanks, Jim Clark, a-hole. I left the class like a minute. We would always leave like 15 seconds before the bell, and he wrote 3 of us up. And I'm like, why are you giving us detention? I got to come in on National Signing Day with that. And then I forgot my letter of intent. So it was a great day. Love your show. Happy holidays to our troops. Yeah, I agree. Happy holidays to all of you that are abroad. I hope you guys get some joy watching the show. If you guys can chime in on the chats, we appreciate you guys so much for what you guys do for our country. But yeah, signing day is just, it's a magical day. And it's kind of like the NFL draft. It's one of those things where it's the start of the journey. It's not the coronation. It's not the be all end all. It's just, hey, you get a pair of workout clothes to go work at Ohio State, and they're going to pay your tuition for 1 year, because the scholarships are year to year. They're not 3, 4, 5 year deals. So, you got to go earn your keep at that point, and then it's kind of on. So, you kind of get to see who wants to show up, who's got a chip on their shoulder, who's ready to go take a spot, because those are the kind of guys that I really like. Nevada, what does signing day mean to you? I know that it's got a different kind of connotation now that there's this early signing day, and then there's the late signing day that I don't think we've ever signed anybody at. But what are your thoughts on signing day tomorrow?
Well, I mean, it's funny because most people look at the top of the class, and I'm really I'm the bottom of the class guy. I like looking at the guys that are the lowest ranked guys, because I know inevitably, just do the math, some of those guys are going to turn out to be the stars of the class, and that's just the way it works. It's been that way forever. I remember in your class that unranked Burt Carton tight end from Massillon Perry or whatever it was turned out to be a All-American there at Ohio State, and nobody was really getting excited about you when you were recruited. And it's funny. It's always, to me, it's those guys that are the best stories, because you just never know. You just never know who's going to end up being the star of the class, who's going to be the All-American, who's going to be the guy that has the tree in the grove at the end of the journey. And it's not the 5-star guys all the time. So for me, I'm going to be looking at who's the lowest ranked guys in the class, and seeing if I can kind of pick out who do I think is going to be the next superstar, and that to me is the funnest part of signing day.
Oh yeah, like I loved being like the unheralded guy, the project guy, the guy that the late take. I was the only lineman they signed, so I loved that because I mean I didn't need any motivation because I wanted to go out there and lay the wood to every. When I got out there, man, I was like Sheon Cotton, who's my boy, Brandon Maupin, Dave Patterson, who's my boy. Like I wanted to lay the wood to those guys and just punish them every day because I had to deal. Because I was the guy that had to wait till December to get offered. I was the guy that had to wait. So and I had the chip on my shoulder. I was the guy that they offered me, and I committed because I was like, I don't want to play any games. I don't want to go anywhere else. I was supposed to go visit Northwestern and Stanford, and when Ohio State offered me, it was December 6th. I'll never forget. I called my high school coach, told me they're offering me a scholarship. I told him, call him and tell him I'm coming. I don't want to go to Northwestern. I don't want to go to Stanford. I don't want to go to any of these other schools. Like I just want to go to Ohio State. I'm done because I hate the games. I hate the schematics. I hate having to act interested in something I'm not interested in. Like I wasn't interested in going to Northwestern or Stanford. If I'd had to, I'd have gone to Stanford. But it's just I wanted to go to Ohio State because I wanted to prove that I could play with those guys. And I played against some of those guys, and I knew a lot of those guys from camp. I just knew I could play with them. So, but it was just like, I wasn't a game player, and I love kids like Pat Elflein are near and dear to my heart because nobody's excited when they commit. Everybody thinks they suck. Everybody thinks, oh, we should take Kyle Kalis and all the. And I love Kyle Kalis. He's one of my buddies. But Pat had a way better career than Kyle. He's still in the league 7 years, Remington winner. Kyle Kalis, turned his nose up, and the whole world was going to end because we didn't get Kyle when he went to Michigan, and he lost to us every time we played him. He didn't get drafted. Pat got drafted mid-round, won the Remington, All-American. So again, some of these people, it's like they dive off these cliffs when we lose a guy, and I'm like, why don't you just wait and see how these guys end up? Because Pat is as solid of a kid as you could ever dream of. Great family, married Jim Lachey's daughter. Again, Pat's one of my favorites of all time, and nobody was excited about that kid. I was like, I think this kid's he's gonna do great things. And I mean, hell, Urban wasn't excited about him. He left him off the Camp 105. I'll never forget that. I was talking to Pat about that the other day. I was like, they thought so little of you. We invite 105 guys to camp, and you only have 85 scholarship. We have 85 guys on scholarship every year, and you get to invite 105 guys to camp. And Urban Meyer thought so little of you that he did not invite you. He invited 21 walk-ons over you. So don't ever forget that. But I had your back because at lunchtime, me and you would go over the playbook because he wasn't even allowed in meetings. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Sean Kritka, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. Off topic, but the Cheaters up north fan base is convinced the NCAA is done with them and nothing else is happening. You guys got to understand, man, the NCAA is as slow as an iceberg. How confident are you that they're wrong? I'm exceptionally confident in that. Nevada, again, we've heard, this thing, it takes a hot minute, but again, this is, again, a lot of you guys are Mafia fans. Go watch the Gotti thing on Netflix. It's fantastic. But it's kind of like when they build like a RICO statute case versus like the mob versus like John Gotti. They don't just like say, oh, we got a parking ticket. Oh, we're going to bring the charges. No, they build this thing up to where it's bulletproof and there's no escape. This is going to be a very thorough deal, a very nasty deal, a very big deal. Nevada, I mean, am I on the right track? Because that's how I feel like this thing is. Like they're going to dig through every little thing, and it takes time. I mean, you're digging through electronic records and forensics and interviewing people, and I mean, when this thing comes down, this thing's going to be like the hammer of God. But your thoughts?
I mean, guys, how many times have we heard Michigan say? I mean, Michigan came out with remember in the first week when the NCAA investigators were there, and it was coming out, flooding out of the Michigan side. Oh, they came and they cleared us, and we're in the clear, and it's over, and they apologized, and they bought Jim Harbaugh lunch, and it's gone, it's done. I mean, this has been the fate. This is the hope is not a strategy type of thing with Michigan guys, but because they're just whistling past the graveyard right now. It's all that they have. All that they have is, oh, we haven't heard anything in a few weeks. It must be over. They must have gone on. I know that they said no and can prove, but what they really meant was we don't know and can't prove, and we're sorry, and we're sorry for dragging Michigan into this. I'm not 99% confident. I'm 100% confident that Michigan is going to get whacked. 100%. So don't worry about you haven't heard anything for a day or an hour or a week or whatever. It's going to happen. It's all building. As Kirk mentioned, they're building the case. They're going through a lot of things. And Michigan has been spectacularly unhelpful through this process, which again has been noted by the NCAA every time they have a call with the Big Ten. They say, we just want to make a special note to let you guys know that Michigan has not been cooperating with this investigation. And you say, well, what's the big deal with it? They're by statute required to cooperate with these investigations, not only by Big Ten statute, but by NCAA statute. So they're just digging the hole bigger and bigger and bigger. So whatever the opposite is of, oh, we're in the clear, nothing's going to happen, that's what's there with Michigan. So I want to be crystal clear. It's 180 degrees different from what they're saying out there. They're going to get slammed.
My favorite is when some of my teammates would say it was it's 360 degrees from it. And I was like, you do realize that that's the exact same direction, right? Nevada did it right. But I'd have teammates say it's a 360-degree change. I'm like, so you're exactly the same. No. And like some of those guys, they didn't get it. They didn't have a protractor growing up, I don't think. Ian Banks, thanks for the 10. Appreciate your brother. Kirk Dog, I like that. What up? You think we should put the LeBron logo on our football unis? I wish if he just stayed in Cleveland, maybe. I don't mind LeBron. He says some of the dumbest stuff in history because he's just not real smart sometimes. There's some things where he's like wicked intelligent, and then when he like talks about like politics, he's not real smart. I think it would work wonders in recruiting. I honestly think that the boost Michigan got going with Stallions, that's the boost that they got going along with those. Well, I mean, I think like Michigan with the Jordan brand is one thing, but LeBron, like I think that maybe if you did it on like an alternate uniform, it'd be fine because the kids like LeBron and they think he's the GOAT, even though he's not because Jordan is. I don't know. Like I mean, he gives out headphones to the guys and we wear his shoes and stuff, and that's all great. But like he never went to Ohio State, but I guess Jordan never went to Michigan either. So I don't know. I think on an alternate thing, it'd be fine just because it'd be good for recruiting and the kids like LeBron and. Guys like Ennis, like the Lakers, even though he's from Miami for whatever reason. So it's kind of funny. I mean, I'd be fine with it. Anything that's good for recruiting and the overall coolness of the brand, I'm fine with. Benji, appreciate you, my man. Do you think the young guys have the alpha mentality that seems to be missing from the past couple of seasons? Nevada, Gabe Powers is a baller? ? I'll let you take that, Nevada.
Yeah, Gabe Powers is a baller, and he's a beast. I mean, Gabe will remind you of those old time. He'll remind you of Spielman. I mean, when you watch him out there playing, you're going to think, wow. He is old school, not rock 'em, sock 'em, run around and block 'em type of linebacker out there. And he's definitely a throwback, man. To me, like Tommy Eichenberg is definitely a throwback. Gabe's a more talented Tommy Eichenberg, in my opinion, a more athletic Tommy Eichenberg. And that's saying something because Tommy's an athlete. And people, I remember when, after his freshman year, we had posted in testing, I think he ran 4.7 or 4.6 or something. And people were like, no way. And then you see him run out the run and you're like, man, he's pretty fast. But Gabe's even more athletic. And I like Gabe Powers a lot. I'm predicting big things for him.
Yeah, he's a great kid. He's a local kid. I mean, Scott's a miracle guy from Marysville. In terms of do the young guys have the alpha mentality seems to be missing from the past couple of seasons? I think some do. But not enough. Like I think we need a little bit more nasty on the team. I think we got a lot of nice kids. You got kids like Cade. Cade's nasty. I don't have to worry about him. But there's some guys I think that need to crank it up a little bit and be a little bit less cordial on the field, if that makes sense. Mike Hall's nasty. Jack Sawyer's nasty. JT Tuimalau is a gangster. Like I love how JT plays when I watch his film. He could be much more dominant though. But I think that we got guys like a guy that I love, whose game I love and is infectious, is Davison. Davison Igbinosun is a guy that you watch him in, and he is like electricity out there. And he's a guy that we're gonna have to lean on next year because he'll be our number one corner if Denzel goes pro. But yeah, I think we need a little bit more edge, especially on offense. I think that some of our linemen need to pick it up a little bit. Jelani Thurman could be that guy for sure. He just has to keep his head on straight and keep maturing. But yeah, I think that we need a little bit more alpha. Salty, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. Merry Christmas to our service men and women. Again, we appreciate everyone that is abroad right now. We know it's tough to be away for the holidays, so thank you for your service, all of our armed force members. If you guys are members of BuckeyesCoop.com, if you're active military or retired military, you actually get a little badge that denotes what branch you're in, which is something we're proud of, something that we were able to add to the thing. So we update those constantly when people join. So if you guys join BuckeyesCoop.com, make sure you send a note and you'll get your badge for the branch of the military you're in. Enjoy watching the show. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas and also Happy Hanukkah. Mike Durr. Oh, this is fantastic. Thanks for the 2. Please say hi to my wife, Carrie. I make her watch. Carrie, you're getting better every day because you're watching the show. So you're learning a lot about football, and you can be wicked smart around all your friends and your coworkers and everybody you know, because you'll know more than all of them, because they probably don't watch Buckeyes here. Nevada, do you want to say hi to Carrie? Appreciate you, Mike. That is hilarious. And again, that is a strong marriage right there, man. If you're watching Buckeyes Scoop at night.
Yeah, no, that's like, but but you can tell though, that's a man that's got his wife like trained properly right there. Get her in there, educating her about a little football, educating her there. Like this is the kind of thing that we need, these power couples right now that both understand football. Like my wife, Miss Nevada Buck, and she's a sports fan. She is like the ultimate team sport. She's like the ultimate team sports mom. She watches every game. She knows what's going on, and she listens to me rant all the time about stuff. So it's great when you can do that, and you can have these like spirited discussions with your wife about stuff. Man, that's the best. So best of luck to both you guys, and Merry Christmas to you guys.
She just berate officials when there's like the fat hockey referee at the youth hocky game. The fat hockey referee that's got to call like 10 power plays against your kid, and your kid's in goal. You're like, we got a 5-on-3. 5-on-3 with 3 minutes to go, eh?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Nice job, Fatty. Way to go.
Good job, Tubbs, on that interference penalty that nobody saw. D. Sonny, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, man. Can you talk about players like Pryor that are gamers or clutch, ? Besides them just having skills, what do you think makes them clutch? So that is D. Sonny, you bring the best questions, man. I'm telling you. Like, I wish I could put a medal on your name, because that is a fantastic question. So like some guys, they just have this confidence. Like, I don't get too stupid with it, but like Troy Smith was like that. The problem with Troy is the greatest gamer in Ohio State history, and he gets like this wet blanket because we all sucked against Florida. But if you go watch him against really good Michigan teams, he was an absolute killer. He killed them. I mean, literally, and that was back when they were still on the 90s hot streak. And, we beat him in 01, we beat him in 02, we lost in 03. So 04, they came in as big favorites. I mean, that could have gone either way, and we could have been right back to the 90s if it wasn't for Troy Smith. I mean, I hesitate to think if Tress wouldn't have made the switch to Troy, we probably wouldn't have ever beat Michigan. But Troy was such a gamer. And some of these guys, like, they just live for it. They're ice cold. They're dying to make the play. And they just, they're ready to rock. They're ready to go. And Terrell was like that. Troy was like that. And honestly, it's easier when you're a skill guy, just because, if you're an offensive tackle, like, I could pancake my guy every single play. But if we can't throw and catch the ball, and we can't run like Beanie Wells or Antonio Pittman or Maurice Clarett, then it doesn't matter. In the Michigan game, I always tell people that it's all about the skill players. Like, the lines for Ohio State and Michigan are both going to be really, really good. Really, really good. Like, you're going to probably the 2 best lines on offense and defense that you're going to see in the Big Ten every year. Maybe Penn State will be in there, on their D line, but like, it's going to be kind of a wash. So the skill guys got to make plays. Guys like Anthony Gonzalez and Santonio Holmes and Ted Ginn and, Michael Jenkins and Maurice Clarett and whoever, like, those guys got to go win the game, because I can only do so much as a tackle. It just kind of is what it is. But, like Terrell, it's the guys that when the moment is the biggest, they don't falter. Like, this ice water. Like, Terrell was like that. That Sugar Bowl, I just remember, like, I told Wes Satterfield as a G, I was like, dude, I'll bet you $1,000 we're going to run these guys tonight. And he's like, you really think so? I was like, yeah, dude, we got Terrell. They got Ryan Mallett. Like, give me a break. Terrell, people can say whatever they want about Terrell, and they can say that he said dumb stuff all the time and his throwing motion was weird. That dude could run like the wind. And when it was time to go make a play, at Iowa, he carried us. And really, that was a 12-1 team that we lost to probably the best Wisconsin team they've had in 20 years when they had J.J. Watt. It was up there, and we kind of ran into a buzzsaw that night. But there's a certain guys that like Dane Sansabacher was a gamer. Dane was an incredible player, one of the most underrated players in school history. But like Joey Bosa, like some of these guys that they're at those edge positions of skill positions, they've just got that knack, and JT Barrett is one of the ultimate gamers. And I know everybody hates JT because he doesn't throw like CJ Stroud or whatever, but like he beat Michigan every year. And that kid played with a leg that was so screwed up versus Penn State out there that 90% of players wouldn't have played with his knee. But that kid was so tough, and he just willed the team to win, and they won that game. So, I mean, Braxton had some of that in him. Again, it's a lot of the skill guys, but some of those guys, man, it's like they get out there, man, and they just won't let you lose. A guy obviously like who's not an Ohio State guy is like Tebow. He's the ultimate gamer. Like that guy, he's going to be on tilt every single game. Like you don't have to worry about where his mind is or what he is. And honestly, like for a guy that I played with, it was a guard like TJ Downing was a gamer. Like I never had to worry about him on Saturdays. Now the other 6 days of the week, I had no idea where he'd be at. I didn't really care, but don't ask, don't tell. But on game nights, game days, I knew when I needed my guard, he'd be there. So, that's just kind of how it is. Like when you're out there, the players know who the players are, and you develop a reputation. And like, and again, I'm not going to like say it about myself, but like if you ask my team, ask David Patterson and some of those guys about me, they knew where I was on Saturday. They knew I wasn't out to lunch, and I wasn't, I was serious as a heart attack, and I was always on tilt on Saturdays because I couldn't wait to get out there and whack somebody. Vader, who are some gamers or some clutch guys that you can think of, because you've got a little bit longer history, a longer memory of watching Ohio State, that you just knew, like when it was Saturday, they were ready to rock?
Well, I mean, obviously guys like AJ Hawk, Chris Gamble. I mean, Chris Gamble was one of the ultimate gamers, but I just would just liken it though to, like, you all know, it's like when you play youth sports, when you play baseball when you're a little kid, and some guys, when the game was on the line, they wanted to be up at bat, and other guys didn't want to be up at bat. They're like, I hope somebody else makes the hit. Like the gamers are the guys that want to be up there. They want the ball in their hands. And that's what made Terrell so great. I mean, when there was a key play to be made, man, he wanted the ball in his hands. And I remember one of the big mistakes, one of the big bad plays he made was on that quarterback sneak against Penn State when he tried to make a play and pull it outside and try to do something. But like, I love that guy. I mean, you're talking about a guy that ran for a 90-plus yard touchdown from the quarterback position, and also was a 1,000-yard wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, think about how good of an athlete you have to be to have those two different things and be able to dominate the NFL at both those positions. I mean, just crazy. But no, it's fun watching the guys. You either have it or you don't. And I think for Ohio State, maybe that's the biggest complaint that they've had about guys is that they haven't had that quarterback that's had that killer instinct or that ability to just kind of will them over the line. Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's unfair. Does Devin Brown have it? It's unknowable until you get in the games, because you can do everything you want in practice, but games are different than practice. And that's what people have to understand. When we're saying that, it's not hedging your bet. It's just recognizing the fact that there's some guys that when the lights shine the brightest, it's hard. They don't play as well. They don't respond as well. And so how's Devin going to do? Unknowable until it does it, but we're going to get a chance to all see it here in less than 2 weeks. So buckle up.
Yeah, and I was a guy, I like to practice hard because I felt like it just got me in shape, got me in condition, got me ready for the games. But, when you're doing some scout team stuff, you can kind of chill a little bit. Like you don't have to go kill everybody every moment, every time, especially later in the season when your body's beat up. But, I think that you're right. I mean, there are guys that look great in practice, and you put them out on that. You put them out in the Horseshoe. Now, mind you, Horseshoe's got 102,000 people or whatever it is now, and it's like it's terrifying for some people. Now, I didn't care because I'd always tell my young guys, let's like just treat it like it's inside run on Tuesdays when you're going against Ohio State's defense. Because I was like, no matter who you play in the Horseshoe, their defense is not going to be as good as Ohio State's defense. So if you guys can go against Cam Hayward and Vern Golston and Joey Bosa, whoever is across from you, then you guys will be fine against Miami of Ohio or Western Kentucky or, Penn State or whoever. Because That's the benefit to coming to Ohio State. It's like, look, you can block, like I had to block, the two ends I blocked my senior year were Cam Hayward and Vernon Golson. So go look up where those guys got drafted and how much they made in the NFL. That's what I had to see every day. It's like, if I wanted to take a day off, I was going to get taken to the woodshed. So you couldn't take a day off when you're at Ohio State. And again, I loved that because like I didn't have to get motivated for practice because if you're not motivated, you're gonna get embarrassed, and then you get to go watch it on film with your offensive line coach and your teammates, and you don't want that. You don't want that smoke. But that is a great question, D. Sunny. I appreciate it. Poohbeard12, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. A lot of negative recruiting against us has been that LJ is going to retire or get whacked. OSU is denying any sources for you guys saying otherwise. Look, I've said this a million times. I think that there's a good chance that we get at least Jack Sawyer back. I think Mike Hall potentially is gone. Tyleek may be gone. And then JT. We could lose all 4. We could get a couple back. I don't know. But they ain't coming back if LJ's gone. So, that's a non-starter. Eddrick Houston isn't coming here without LJ. So it's like he's been 7. He's a year younger than Nick Saban. So, all these people that say, oh, he's old and he's going to retire. I'm like, dude, he's making like $1 million a year to coach the defensive line right now. He's making like 900, plus he's got his bowl bonus, like 100 and something grand. So, I think the bowl bonus is like 1 month's salary or 2 months salary or something like that. So he probably got like a $200,000 bonus to go to the stupid Cotton Bowl. So he's making $1.1 million. He's got a good D-line room. He just has to coach D-line. He's on one of the highest paid staffs in the country. And, the first 40 years of his coaching career, he probably didn't make $1 million in 10 years. So, again, a lot of these guys are lifers. You got to understand, like when you're these football coaches, like coaching football is like heroin. They can't give it up. They love it. It's what they do. It's what they've always done. And now, he's making scratch, and Columbus is a great city to live in, and he's not miserable. And, I think that, the RD line I thought was really good this year. I mean, I thought JT was good. Jack Story the last 6 games was fantastic. Tyleek is showing up in late first round mock drafts. Mike Hall is, when Mike is healthy, the problem with Mike is he's so small that he gets dinged up a lot. But when he's healthy, he's dynamic. Now, he's not great in the run game, but he's a dynamic pass rusher, and he'll get some splash plays in the run game where he'll just swim over a center or split a double team, whatever. But, against bigger, heavier guys, he's not great. But I think that Larry's got plenty of gas in the tank, Just because you lose Justin Scott to the NIL bag at Miami where he'll hit the portal next year, that doesn't mean like it's an indictment on LJ. It's an indictment that, our collectives need to like actually collect some money. Your thoughts on LJ? Because the retirement thing, I mean, I swear to God, this has been like 10 years running of LJ's going to retire, and he just keeps getting raises. And, like I said, we get Eddrick Houston, I'm straight. I'm good. And we get Jack Sawyer back, then we'll be in really good shape next year. Your thoughts about it?
Well, I got some insight as to this, some breaking news. LJ will retire at some point. And that is going to happen. LJ is going to retire. But like, if you think about it, if you're Larry Johnson, like you're like, okay, I'm Larry Johnson. Here I am. I'm coaching at Ohio State, making big money. And what am I going to do? I'm going to hang out with my kid, Larry Johnson Jr. Have you seen or heard what Larry Johnson Jr. is doing lately? It's like, I probably don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to hang out here at the Woody Hayes for a few more years and coach these other kids instead of my nutty son. So look, this guy, Larry's going to coach until they toss him into the ground. I mean, that's what those guys do. They coach, and then when they stop coaching, they die. And so Larry, like you said, he's a year younger than Saban. How old was Dick LeBeau when Dick LeBeau looked great, but Dick LeBeau, like Coach Lee, was like 97 years old or whatever the heck it was. So yeah. I think Larry's still got gas in the tank. He's still going to be there, but yeah, they're going to say it every year that he's going to be. The biggest thing for these guys is you never know if the guy's going to be there. But Larry, what else is he going to do other than be a football coach? That's what he wants to do, and I think I shouldn't say I think. I know that's what he's telling these guys. He's like, look, I'm going to be here as long as they're going to have me, and I have no intention of retiring anytime soon. And that's what he's telling the recruits, and I think that's what they're buying.
Yeah, and that's the game. I mean, look, anytime a guy is 70, then you can always say, yeah, he's going to retire. But like Nick Saban is 72, so I mean. Does everybody say he's going to retire, or is he just immortal? He's above it all. AZ King, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. The repeat super chat. Thanks, brother. Nevada Buck Kirk. Once Gene is gone, Will we be able to get Tim Kite, the E plus R equals O guy, back at OSU? He was good. That's interesting because I know TK really well. TK sadly has cancer right now. He's an awesome dude. I've really known him for years now. Um, I don't know. I think he moved to Charlotte, maybe. I don't think he's local in Columbus anymore. But he's a great dude. That was Urban's guy. That's kind of the thing that happens when there's a transition from like Urban to Ryan Day is that there's some things that change, some parts of the program change. Obviously, Tim Kite did not get renewed by Ryan Day, so he's not really part of the program the way he was with Urban. He was kind of front and center and on the sideline and on the team plane. And, that was kind of good and bad because I think he ruffled the feathers of some of the full time coaches just because, he was like, it was like everyone was saying, and again, I love Tim Kite. I think he's a great dude. But, it's like, he's kind of like this sensei that, comes in and teaches discipline and event plus response equals outcome, which is really, it's good stuff. And it's something that he implemented, in Fortune 500 companies and all over Columbus. And it was kind of everywhere for about 5 years. But, some of these coaches are working 100 hours a week. And like they're saying, so this guy that shows up for like 3 hours a week is the reason why we win all these games. And it's not all these coaches that I always get these like kind of private grumblings that were always kind of funny. Like we're in here working 100 hours a week and, when we lose a game, he's nowhere to be found. But, when we win, he's like right there on the stage. So, but I like TK. He's a good dude. I don't know. I don't know if Gene has anything to do with that or if it's just Ryan or whatever. But, Ryan's got, he's got kind of his own stamp on the program. Again, that's the thing. You're not going to keep, when there's a transition from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, like, some of the stuff has survived. Like you watch their little hype videos that they're putting out right now. Like they talk about competitive excellence and all this other stuff. That's all Urban stuff. But some of the stuff dies. This is the natural transition between coaches. So I don't know if we'll see TK again. I hope he's healthy, though. I mean, God bless him. He's a great dude. I know he's had cancer for a few years now. He's beat it a few times, but he's a great dude. Him and BK are really good dudes. KJ Hustle Guy, thanks for the deuce. If you have a question, kind of fill me in, let me know. Nevada, I'm going to throw some Tackett Curtis on. We reached out to Tackett Curtis today. Talk a little bit about, like, the bounce backs. Because again, I think the hardest part for me with a lot of the signing day stuff is that people, immediately they go flying off the cliff and they're just like, oh my God, we didn't get, like I look at some of the turds that we missed out on, like Addison Nichols, who went to Tennessee because, we had a dingbat recruiting guy who literally didn't do his homework and said he was going to come here. And then he ends up going to Tennessee. Then he portals to Arkansas. But like when we lost Addison Nichols, it was like the entire world was ending. How's the program ever going to survive? Oh my God. Like Corey Foreman was the number one player in the country 2 years ago. He just hit the portal from SC. Stinks. Malachi Nelson was the number one player in the country like last year. And, he's like visiting like turd schools. Like he's not visiting Bama and Georgia and Texas. I mean, he's visiting like Duke and like these little like kind of also ran schools, or it's not Duke, maybe Baylor. I mean, I remember when I saw the list of the schools he was at South Carolina, I wasn't like, oh wow, he's going to do really good at Bama or Georgia. I mean, like to me, Lincoln Riley moving on that kid tells me all I need to know because he knows how to evaluate a quarterback. But what are your thoughts like when we miss on these guys, and then they either potentially bounce back like Tackett Curtis did, or they turn out to not be very good?
Well, look, it's the nature of recruiting, and I want to correct one thing just so because details matter, as Jack Reacher would say, or Reacher. Tackett Curtis reached out to Ohio State, and so that was the first call that he had his representative make was to Ohio State to see if Ohio State had interest, and they do. So that could be a marriage that gets made, but that's why I always tell people just don't freak out about kids, especially this was before the portal. I would never freak out about kids coming or going to the program. But now, especially with this, it's like, man, you could have guys come around. Like, does anybody want to take odds on Justin Scott working out at Miami? I mean, does that seem like the least possible? You know what I'm saying? It's like there's absolutely no chance that that's going to work out. And so is that a miss? Is that something that we could come back in? I think, I think it's rare for these kids that go and when you see these kids go and then immediately bounce somewhere else, I think it rarely works out. I mean, the kids that I'm more interested in the portal are more like the Jonah Jackson type, where they've
Yeah.
been somewhere for 3 or 4 years. They've kind of established the fact that they can play. They're looking, to go out, put good film in the NFL, play with better players, compete for national championship. To me, that's the kind of guys that I want to look for in the portal, as opposed to I was really super highly regarded coming out of high school. I went to a school and I didn't play. Now, again, Justin Fields is the clear exception to that rule, but the Jonah Jacksons are kind of the guy. I'm looking for guys that have gone and not worked out somewhere else, but have gone and proved that they can play and are moving on to greener pastures. That's what I'm looking for in the portal, and I think that's a successful portal formula. And if I was doing it at Ohio State, those are the kids that I would be targeting.
Yeah, I think that's, when you can get like a good MAC player, like a really good MAC player, a good MAC lineman, and he comes to the Big Ten and you can sign him up. Like that's kind of like getting a Rutgers guy. Get a guy who's like, all MAC, and you bring him up to the Big Ten, then you can plug him in somewhere. I think I agree. Like, because then you've got real film on the guy. A lot of these guys are prospects. Again, you look at Jared Verse, who somehow we didn't get, and he went to Florida State and he just opted out of the bowl game today, but he's an absolute monster who I'd have loved to have gotten. He's an Ohio kid, went to the MAC, ends up going to Florida State and was dominant in their last game, and I'm sure he'll be a first round pick. But yeah, I like the guys that have film, like Corey Foreman, for instance, was like the number one player in the country 3 years ago. He has 25 tackles in 3 years, so he's a total bust. And so, like, how do you evaluate a guy who was at one time a 5-star number one player in the country, and in 3 years he's gotten 25 tackles? Mind you, on a terrible defense. Like, I mean, how is he going to play at Ohio State when he's USC's 130th in the country on defense, the worst defense I've ever seen, and he can't play there? So, again, I think you have to go. I think you have to go check out, like, kind of where are they at, why are they leaving, what happened, because like the Malachi Nelson, like literally, if we would have signed Malachi Nelson last year, it would have been like, oh my God, the savior is here. And it turns out he stinks, like, I mean, Lincoln Riley literally just said, hey, we don't need you anymore. We're going to go get a guy for 1 year and Will Howard from K-State, and we're just going to punch you to the portal. So I don't know. Like, I think that you got to trust the coaches, trust their evaluations. And again, you have to remember, in recruiting, these coaches aren't God. And some of these kids get to college, man, and I'm just telling you, they can't handle college. Like, they get to college, they discover girls, they discover partying, they don't go to school. I lived it. I mean, I lived it as a player and a coach. So there's some guys that you might think are going to be the bee's knees, and they're going to be the greatest players ever, and they're going to be your best friends. And then I mean, Luis Irizarry was like one of my best friends, like through the All-Star games. And we went to, I mean, we were in National Honor Society together, and we went to a big banquet, and I was like, this is probably gonna be one of my best friends. It's gonna be great. And then like 6 months later, he's off the team, gone, and that was a kid that on signing day, he flipped from Ohio State to Miami, back to Ohio State. Everyone in the Bucknuts universe was excited. Like we just won the Super Bowl, getting Lewis back, and then he never did anything. He dropped a touchdown pass, and that was his career. So, and then he actually played against us when he was at Youngstown State in 2007. My first game it was funny because I was a captain and he was a captain, and it was surreal because Luis Irizarry, who was a 5-star number one tight end in the country, like played for Youngstown State, and by the time he played for them, he sucked. He was terrible. And again, like I thought Lewis was going to be like a 3-and-out Kellen Winslow clone, and I was wrong. And Darius Hiley was in my class. Darius Hiley was 5-star, number one athlete in the country, safety, corner, quarterback, receiver, running back, played like everything at Glenville. And he showed up and he was terrible. And I love Soup. Soup was my boy. But like, you get out on that field, man, all of a sudden, like, them stars don't matter no more, and you're gonna get torn up. You got to go check Santonio Holmes and play corner. Like, you're gonna get eaten alive. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I was fooled as a young freshman, coming out of high school. Yeah, these guys, these guys that do these recruiting rankings must be really smart, because these guys are all these like highly prolific dudes, and then they show up and they just suck. Again, like I remember we lost Andre Walker in 2011. Andre Walker went to Glenville, 6'8", like 400 pounds, like the biggest human being I've ever seen, looked like Chewbacca. And I remember he went to USC, and he's from Cleveland, Glenville. And, we didn't miss on any Glenville kids that we actually wanted. So when Andre Walker all of a sudden goes to USC, it was like, we got just like lambasted, ridiculed, oh my God, how are we ever going to survive without getting Andre Walker? And I'm like, so a kid from Cleveland Glenville is going to go to USC and survive. And sure as can be, he gets out there, he becomes Mr. Party Guy, and he never did anything. I think he was on, maybe he might have been on a camp roster, but he never made an NFL roster. He barely played at USC, and somehow we survived. We ended up going undefeated in 12. We won a national title in 14. So, again, I know a lot of people like to, I think a lot of people just love to, like they jump off the cliff, and I'm just like, guys, like, let's just see how it all pans out. And by the end of the day, like, there's going to be people that grade our recruiting class and whatever, but it's like grading the NFL draft. Like, you don't know who, Brock Purdy, nobody was like excited about Brock Purdy, and he's like second. I mean, him and McCaffrey are the two odds-on favorites to win the MVP right now. But when he was Mr. Irrelevant 2 years ago, nobody was like, oh my God, the entire NFL has changed because Brock Purdy got picked by the 49ers. So I just think you gotta let it play out a little bit. Nevada, as we wrap this thing up, what are your expectations for tomorrow? Because I feel good about Eddrick Houston. I feel good about JJ Smith. I mean, I talked to a lot of people today. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think tomorrow's going to be a really good day. I think when you're these national recruiting guys, it's your job to build up some drama, some fake hype, some fake stupidity, just because it adds clicks to your website. But I don't really feel it, and maybe I'm reading it completely wrong. Maybe we're going to whatever, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll go back to the point you made earlier, which is really summarizing the whole show. As we sit right now, Ohio State has the number one recruiting class in the country. That's where we're at. We're the number one recruiting class in the country. And like, if you listen to some of the people on the boards or people out there, you think, man, everything's falling apart. We can't recruit. Ryan Day's too old. Jim Knowles sucks. Larry Johnson's retiring. Or not. Ryan Day's not too old. Ryan Day's too soft. His monkey love thing, or whatever his adage is for the day, it ain't working. Parker Fleming's bad. Corey Dennis is gone. I mean, just like, we got all these different narratives kind of working all at once. We got the number one recruiting class in the country, and I think they're all signing. I can tell you, Ohio State thinks they're all signing. So if they're wrong, we'll come in tomorrow and we'll roast everybody. We'll say, oh my goodness, we finished 6 for J.J. Smith, and Eddrick Houston was never considering us. How could Ohio State be so wrong? But as of right now, on signing day eve, they think they got all their little doggies in the class. And we'll see if they're right. I think they are. And if they do, we'll have the number one recruiting class in the country. And that's not all that bad.
Nevada, this is a great comment. This is a non-super chat. I got to put this up, though. Odysseus 2002, this is a great. Nevada, do you agree with this statement? The Fong is wrong sometimes. You don't say.
Yeah, I've said this before, so I don't want to be the old guy to repeat himself. The recruiting guru business is dead. Anybody who's in that business right now literally should they got to change their business model, man, because it's not working. You've lost all credibility. I mean, he might have been good for a long time. He was good. He worked hard, did a good job. Now, I mean, he's below the Mendoza line for the year. I mean, he's way below 50%, other than the last minute crystal ball things that they change when Hayes Fawcett does the edit monkey and tells them. But yeah, no, he's wrong so much right now, and they're all wrong because it's an impossible business to be right in. And so the fact that they're going to go out and keep giving, I used to, one of my signature thing used to be the equal sign, and now it's kind of like, I would never put an equal sign on anything because there we go. Oh man, did we get that? Look, if we have an AI bot that's transcribing, what do you think it just transcribed when belched on the air?
That had to be too much water.
Oh my goodness gracious! Oh,
all right. So go back to your rant on recruiting guys and your equal signs.
I'm sorry. No, I got completely just kind of quizzed out at the same time.
Did you lose your stomach?
I did. I kind of lost my stomach, but no, just look, recruiting guys. It's a dead business, man. So we're not going to try to sit here and tell you about 2025 recruits or some 2027 kid that's looking really good. We'll tell you what we're knowing as it gets closer to signing day. We've got a pretty good handle. The best sources right now, there's only two sources that you can go to for recruiting information, in my opinion. One is Hayes Fawcett, the edit monkey, who does all those little fancy edits with, angel wings and stuff on the guys when they commit. Two is the agents.
Cash,
And we've
bags of
and,
cash.
and, and we've got the agents on lockdown. So it's like we get good information. What are the agents telling me? The agents are saying Ohio State's going to sign their class. What is Ohio State saying? They think they got all their doggies lined up. We'll see tomorrow, but I think that's where it's going to end up. And I think all the worrying and all the hand wringing is going to be for naught, because it's going to be a highly regarded class coming in. Now, will they be a highly regarded class going out? Unknowable, but it's going to be some quality there tomorrow. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, and the problem is like sometimes Ohio State's coaches don't even know. So I mean, how do you expect like Fong or whoever to know? Like if they don't know. I mean, we thought we were getting Justin Scott until the bag got dropped. We got a few more super chats coming in. If you guys have super chats, keep them coming. We'll keep this thing going a little bit longer. Speedman 606, appreciate you. Thank you for the 20. Kudos to you guys, and Scoop for raising money for our troops serving overseas. We appreciate you having a connection back home. Again, we loved all this show. If any of you guys are abroad right now, I know it's the middle of the night probably, but send us a chat. We appreciate you guys as always. As a Marine, hoorah, I love that. This served the first Persian Gulf War. I spent more Christmases away from home. Again, we appreciate your service. I know that's exceptionally difficult. And I'm not anywhere near what you did. I was just at a bowl game, which is nothing like being overseas. But being away from your family is depressing. I don't care what you say, what anybody says. Thank you for your service and your sacrifices. Again, we were very pro troops on the Scoop. So thank you, Speedman. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your service as well. KJ Hustle Guy, thanks for the deuce. Bucks need to keep improving their down south commit. Well, I think that's just, I mean, you got to sell your development and you got to figure out a way to raise money for some of these guys. I think that the built-in excuse, it's funny because, it's an excuse for some coaches on Ohio State staff when they can't land guys because they say, oh, well, these guys cost money and it's the bag man and whatever. But like Brian Hartline's still doing it. He getting JJ Smith tomorrow. JJ Smith, the best player in the country, and Brian got him. I'm sure he'll get a little bag, but it's not is the biggest bag. And again, I think that when you chase these kids and basically it becomes an auction and they go to the highest bidder, I think that everything starts off on a bad foot, a bad note. I think that those kids are going to be looking for the next bag in the portal in a year. It's kind of like, if someone's on the dating scene and like a chick loves you, but she just loves you because you've got a lot of money. There's always going to be guys got more money than you. So you always got to be kind of on the lookout that, hey, she might be jumping ship right quick and be saying, hey, you were real handsome before, but now that you're a little more broke, so I spent all your money. Like it's not the same. And that's what I feel like a lot of these kids are. Like a lot of these kids, it's like love at first, direct deposit. But then after that, it just kind of evaporates. You got to have some sustenance to it. You got to have some development behind it. You've got to have, because like some of these kids are going to make these dumb decisions where they make real money. They make 500 grand, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden they don't get developed, and the coaching staff gets fired, and then they're kind of up the creek, and they've been at a school for 2-3 years, and they haven't made an impact because they went with the bag instead of development. And I think that if I had a kid that was in the situation like a JJ Smith, I'd be like, look, Brian Hartline has put a lot of guys in the league. We watched Monday Night Football last night. There's Jackson Smith and Jigba, game-winning touchdown. Like, it's a sign from God. You need to go to Ohio State. Don't go to Miami. Don't go to Florida State. Don't go to Florida. Go somewhere. Because it's not just Brian Hartline. It's Ryan Day. Like, you're going to be in Ryan Day's offense where we throw the absolute crap out of the ball. I mean, Ryan Day is Chuck at Charlie. He hates running the ball. So we throw it like crazy. Like, we pad stats. Like, Marvin just won the Blitnikoff. Like, what do you want? Like, what could you possibly want? And the other thing about Ryan is he's going to play you early. Like, he's going to play. You're going to be playing as a freshman now. I mean, if Ryan's got a brain, he's going to start JJ out at X and say, Kojo, Antwi, and all these other guys that are behind you, like, have fun backing up JJ because JJ's the guy. And then, we got other guys in that class that are good too, but I don't know. I think that, a lot of these kids make mistakes because they get doe eyes when they see that money come in, and it's just not really worth it, in the long run. Cause if JJ does what he's supposed to do and he's a 3-and-out guy and he ends up being a first round pick, I mean, he's going to make $120 million in his career. Like Justin Jefferson's next deal is going to be like $30 million a year. He's the number one receiver in the NFL. He's up after this year. So, with the new TV deals, like the NFL salaries aren't going down, folks. So why would you chase like $1 million from Florida State when you can go make 150 times that in the National Football League? And again, it's not like he's coming here for free. Like he's going to get money here. And the thing is like, you don't always have to just lean on the 1870 Society and the foundation of these collectives because there's mega corporations in Ohio that like doing these NIL deals. Like Cade Stover just got a great clips deal. Like Cade Stover has like a zero fade with no, like, I mean, he has like the most simple like haircut in history and he has a great clips deal. Like Marvin Harrison has an offer on the table from Kroger if he comes back next year. It's a huge deal. So, it's not like it's just these collectives like humdum, like, bringing money. Like Marvin Harrison had national deals. These guys have agents now. If you're a big name and you're a skill guy like JJ, like people are going to be kicking your door in to be associated with you because they want to get in with you when you're a freshman. If you're a superstar, like JJ will have a nice car the second he gets to campus, guaranteed. They want these guys to know they're going to be taken care of. And again, these local places, they want a 3-year relationship. They don't want to just get a guy for his junior. They want to get him as a freshman, sophomore, or junior, kind of grow that relationship. And again, that's why this bowl game is so important. Like a lot of people, they go, it's the stupid Cotton Bowl. I'm like, dude, that Cotton Bowl is like a jackpot for Brandon Innes and Tate and Devin Brown and all these guys that won the NIL money. Like you're gonna have a chance to go put it on tape, because that's the thing is the eye in the sky doesn't lie. And if you guys want to go get paid some NIL money, go ball out versus Missouri. Go beat Missouri. Don't just ball out. You got to beat them because no one wants to support a loser. So, final thoughts, Nevada. Again, we had a couple super chats to lay that. Might do a show tomorrow. See a little signing day action going. But your thoughts about it?
Yeah, no, I'm just excited about, I'm excited about tomorrow. I think for Ohio State, if I have any suggestions for Ohio State, I'd be pushing the Polynesian connection for defensive linemen because defensive line is really dominated by, big mama boys from down south, which are tough to pull away from home, and the Polynesians. And I think Ohio State's had a good success with Polynesian kids. I think that you look at schools like Utah and Washington and Oregon and USC and UCLA. I mean, their defensive lines are dominated by Polynesian kids. And if I was Ohio State, that's where I'd be going. That'd be something that I'd be trying to develop for Ohio State. Try to develop that connection. We've had some good ones in terms of Haskell Garrett, Tommy Togiai. It's not like we haven't done that with players, but man, I'd be going all in on that because I think those are kids that you can actually get and have them come to Columbus, and I think that could be an edge for Ohio State over other northern schools, and I think they should try to exploit that. But that's Nevada Bucks thoughts of the day. I know you're listening out there, Ohio State. I know you're listening. Man, hit the Polynesian.
Every word. And make sure you guys
every
like our video,
single
Ohio
word.
State.
Yeah. Polynesian kids, man. I'm telling you.
I love it. AZ King, I've been reading this little feedback with TK. He didn't blame the coaches. He blamed Gene. That's very interesting. I have not heard that. So I appreciate the feedback. Again, I love TK. I think he's awesome. So, and we got another super chat at the buzzer. What do you want more? QB rushing TD or a special team TD? That is a great question. In the chat, I want you guys to put, what do you guys want more? A QB rushing TD or I don't think we're ever going to score another special team touchdown for the rest of my life because at this point we fair catch every punt. Unless we block a punt, which we might do, but we always line up offsides or line up with something different. A QB rushing touchdown, I think it's just so easy. It's just such free money. Again, I watch Jalen Hurts every single week get, rushing touchdowns and do the Philly special. Nevada, what do you want more, a QB rushing TD or a special teams TD?
QB rushing TD easy because that would show that Ryan
we can do it.
Yeah, that ding dong, the witch is dead, and that maybe we're gonna this era of poverty on the rushing TDs. I mean, go watch a game, just watch any game, and just watch the quarterbacks running all over the place, and just put through your mind that Ohio State has not had a quarterback rushing TD for 3 years. 3 years, 0 quarterback rushing TDs. That might be the most astounding stat in all my years of following Ohio State football. That's a crazy statistic, and hopefully Devin Brown's the one that that ends it all, man.
Yeah, especially in this era of football. Chris Rowe, I agree with this. $5. Pat Offline and Jim Lachey's daughter need to make us a bunch of superstar lineman babies. I'm gonna send that to Pat. That's hilarious. They are a great couple. Happy for both of them. Again, Pat is one of the great kids. Jim Lachey, if you guys don't know Jim, is one of the greatest human beings you could ever meet. One of the kindest, nicest dudes. I got real close with him when he was, he would fly on the charter. He was the color commentator. Him and Paul Keels are awesome. Marty Bannister was the sideline guy. So those guys were great because they always would have updated injuries or any last minute stuff. So when I was working at Ohio State, I'd stop in the radio booth for a second and just say, hey, is there anything breaking? Any guys that are down that you've heard? Or, because those media guys up there, they're always a little bit more with it. Because when we're getting ready for the game, like, we've got skull session walk and warm ups, and, we don't get to see everything because it's kind of a cluster during that time. So really, really cool stuff. Well, I think we're going to wrap this thing. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for kicking it with us again. Fantastic show. Pat yourself on the back. Again, we love kicking it with you guys. Thank you to all of our troops that are overseas. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for the pay it forwards. The super chats are going into that fund. We are already handing some of those out, so we appreciate it. Again, we kind of do it quietly just because, we're not trying to whatever, but there's people that enjoy it and they love it. And again, it's just something that we like to do. We don't like to promote that we do little things like this, but we love doing it. And it's like one of the best parts of the year for Christmas. So I hope you guys have a great Christmas and also happy Hanukkah. And I appreciate all of your support. If you guys enjoy this video, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Those are all huge for the growth of this channel. Again, the channel is exploding. It's all thanks to you guys. So we appreciate you guys so very much. Again, we will be kicking it all day tomorrow, National Signing Day on BuckeyeScoop.com. So if you guys enjoy it, go ahead and jump on BuckeyeScoop.com. It is nonstop craziness on our message board. So I'm sure people will be hitting F5 on their computers, refreshing the page constantly. So again, thank you guys for your patronage. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Love reading where you guys are at. I read all your comments. So your comments are always fun, constructive, and usually hilarious. So thank you guys for all that. That being said, thank you, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. We'll have a signing day wrap-up show for you guys, ready to rock, and we appreciate you guys as always. Go Bucks.